Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Never Mind the Buy Box. If you could just let us know if you can see and hear us okay. We have got loads. Sorry, someone just sent me a message as I was looking in. We've literally got loads of oh God. Sorry. Brains all over the place. I was literally reading messages. I've gone on that. Can you let us know if you can hear us? Okay, so Mark's joined us. Brilliant.
Come on.
What I was meant to say is we've got loads to talk about today, and clearly my brain can't handle any type of multitasking. As I was trying to log in, should have logged in beforehand so I can see who's joined us. So if you've not joined us, okay, on the YouTube, brilliant. Thanks, Mark. Just waiting for it to connect from a Facebook point of view. Hopefully I've turned the volume down. Here we go. Anyway, Matt, how are you? You talk for a second.
Very well. I'm good. How are you? I was just going to say good. How are you? Right back at you.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. I've managed to log in. I've managed.
Busy week. I'm covering holidays this week because it's August and everyone's on holiday apparently. So I'm like quite heavily involved in the business at the moment because I'm kind of like the cover for people who aren't in. So.
Do you, in your business, do you employ a lot of parents?
Yeah.
So this is when predominantly you're going to see the highest level of kind of holiday requests and things like that.
Yeah, I think there's only one of my staff's not got kids. Well, two of my staff haven't got kids. One's part time, one full time hasn't got kids. The rest of them got kids. So August is busy time for them for holiday requests and things.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear people's thoughts on this actually, because what's interesting is we've always employed parents. So we've always literally had the opportunity, had to work around, holidays and things like that. And, we tend to employ we've got a few single parents as well. So it's a little bit even more difficult making sure that you prioritize it. But then also when you're a parent yourself, you tend to want the same time off as when everyone else wants the same time off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it doesn't affect us so much anymore because we don't work out of the warehouse, on an everyday basis. Matt goes up there more than me. Well, I don't really go up there, to be perfectly honest. But it's one of those things is like looking at how you manage all of that. And we're going to talk a little bit about, managing businesses a little bit today. And, some of the things that you can do to make things a bit more efficient. Because like we said, at the moment, now is the time. If you're going to make changes, if you're going to test things in your business, now is the time to do it. Guys, can someone just let us know if they can see us on Facebook? Because it looks like
loads of YouTube peeps, but nobody on Facebook. Unless everyone's watching on YouTube because it's better. I don't know. I do find YouTube's a bit better for watching.
I don't know, but can somebody let us know if they can see it on Facebook and if you're watching via Facebook? Because we've got no Facebook comments as yet. Only the YouTube legends have joined us. We've got Phil. John's joined us via YouTube. Someone's on Facebook. They've just commented. Notification didn't come up. Guys, can you do me a favor then? Pardeep, thank you. Could you do me a favor and just give us some likes and loves on Facebook just to send out that notification, just to let people know that we're live. They seem to be coming in on now. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Afternoon.
I've had 6 people just jump on. Maybe I've always noticed StreamYard seems to be very slow on Facebook. I don't know if it's to do with Facebook being slow or
I think
API
so.
or something.
I think so. So Donna says I'm watching via Facebook. Appreciate that, guys. Just let us know. It just sends a little while to send the notification out. Maybe it's time to start looking at something else. Maybe something Zoom-led. Because we both like Zoomed when we did the Retail Arbitrage Masterclass, didn't we?
There's a few different softwares that we should look at. Yeah, we did discuss this, didn't we? And potentially, if we do stick with StreamYard, we could get the higher package, couldn't we? Which just streams in full HD rather than 480p or 720, which is standard.
I like the filters on Zoom as well, because it gets rid of the wrinkles at the top. Brilliant. Cindy says she's on both. We're in stereo. We're in stereo. Stereo. Dolby. We're in stereo. Sorry. Right. Okay. Hello. Who's joined us now? I'll just wait to double check on that. But yeah, so today I want to talk about a few. Oh, it's my husband. That's fine. Hello. Do you know what? We're literally in the same house, and I haven't I don't think I've even seen him today. To be perfectly honest, we just.
I know it's really funny. Whenever I meet Natalie, like off never mind the buy box, Matt joins via like Zoom or whatever, and I'm just like, aren't you in the same house? Just like sit at the same computer.
No, I'm always in the office, or I'm doing something, or he's at the warehouse, or whatever. So we're always in different spaces, and people message me, and there's sometimes something that Matt needs to do, for ESA or something like that, and I will literally, and I think what must people think, that we've got like a fake marriage, or we're not really married or something like that, because I'll say, oh, I need to double check with Matt, but I haven't seen him today, and they're a bit like,
yeah,
what? Or I need to get Matt to do that. I'll message him as opposed to I'll just ask him. But yeah, we're busy. We're passing ships in the night sometimes, and we don't see each other. But we have to do that, actually. Do you know what? I think it'd be cool actually once to have, because I know sometimes people talk about this in marriage, where it's really difficult for married couples to run a business together. And, Matt and I do it semi-successfully. But there are certain things that we do within a marriage that we have to try and keep separate as much as possible. So whilst we do work together, we run businesses together and all these different types of things together, we still maintain our independence a lot by doing things like ensuring that if we're both working from home, that we're working in a different part of the house, or if I'm purely at home, Matt goes to the warehouse, that type of thing, because it is really important. If you are on top of each other all the time, living together, it's like church and state, working together, living together, raising kids together, it can become, so we're very conscious of that in our marriage, of making sure that
that's something I always struggled with working from home, was boundaries, in terms of, particularly during COVID, I found my whole kind of work and life just kind of collided and became one thing. And my laptop sort of just like lived on my lap the whole time, but I didn't actually do any more work. It was just always there. And it's very, I think you have to when you work from home full time, you have to have very clear boundaries. Like with my warehouse, it's dead simple. I arrive at this time, I work for this hours, and I go home at this time,
Yeah.
Or if I'm working from home specifically, I'm doing it for a specific job. But I think if you do it full time, you have to have those very clear boundaries in order to make it work well.
Yeah, it's really difficult. And do you know what? This wasn't on the agenda to talk about this today. But if there is anyone out there, I know Mark says works well with the missus, is prepping, and I'm watching. Don't know if I really don't know if that was going to go down. That wouldn't go down too well, because I would muck all the prepping up. There's always a long running joke in our business, in our marriage, in our relationships. I'm not allowed to even look at the prepping, because just looking at it will all go wrong. But yeah, it's one of those things. So I always encourage people, if you are in that scenario, whilst it's great to work together, because the other thing I always say is I'm a very different person in business than I am personally as well. And of course, when you marry someone, or when you meet someone, I met Matt when I was 16. So the other thing is I wasn't a business person at 16 either. So we've gone through this massive kind of transition. I'm not the person now I was when we first met. Naturally, anyway, nothing to do with business. You're not the same person you are when you're 16 and 40 anyway. So you have to go through all these kind of transitions and things like that. But what you do have to do is you have to have a really strong remembering that what I say to him in business, I would not say to him as his wife. So you have to have that strong kind of definition between the two, and you have to remember it as well, because I may say something in business that I'm really strong, that I've got, I'm going to stick to my guns to, I'm going to put in my full business kind of argument to, whereas, something on the personal side of things, I might not have that approach. I'm a lot stronger in that respect than I am maybe on the personal side of things. I don't know. So yeah, it's one of those things that, if you do it, it's not easy. It's not easy running and, being married to your business partner at the same time. So if you do it and you do it well done, because yeah, it's not the easiest thing in the world. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, we're polar opposite. I mean, Eloise helps me out, but that's as far as it goes. We're strictly separate in our business and our lives, and in terms of work lives. And she has her work, and I have my work, and they kind of cross paths, but that we would never. I don't think we'd ever work together full time. I think
you can't avoid it.
Yeah, well, yeah. My policy is no family and no friends in business, and that's served me well.
Whereas,
Mistake I made at the start.
We've done the opposite. Generally, when we make a hire, we look to our a close circle. Friend of a friend, something like that. So I don't know. Different strokes for different folks, obviously. But I didn't really want to concentrate on that today. It was just interesting. That's where it came. Chris has joined us. Afternoon, Chris. Donna said, I hope you're recovered, looking very well. You are too, Matthew. Thank you very much, Donna. Yeah, it's one of those things. And again, this is what I do want to touch on a little bit, and what happened last week and how I kind of, looked at it differently, because and I was going to write a post about this, but I actually thought it's probably better to talk about this a little bit. I had one of the busiest weeks of my life last week in terms of stuff that was going on from all different angles. Sometimes when you're busy, but you're just busy from a business point of view. And work, but then when you get in, or when you kind of leave your work at your door, whatever you're going to do, you can kind of relax when you're at home in your personal space, kind of thing. Well, last week was one of those kind of unicorn weeks where it just all came all at once. We were busy from a business point of view. We were busy from personal point of view. We were busy from a family point of view. And then on top of that, I was a bit stupid and I didn't drink enough water, and I got myself a bit dehydrated. And in that really hot weather last week, when they warn you on the news, when they sort of like say, make sure you do this and make sure, I didn't do any of that. And I had my blood pressure just dropped, and I had like a little, a funny turn, and I was like, oh great, on that really hot day as well. I just wasn't drinking enough, and it was my own fault because I was like busy, kind of thing. Bad excuse, I know. Don't listen to me in that respect. Worst person to listen to. And then it all came together at one point, and we had so much going on. And I am that person. I've always prided myself to be good with time management, but last week it was crazy. It was just getting out of control. And I had this really overwhelming week. And then towards the back end of the week, we had some amazing opportunity came knocking, but it all happened. I was trained and started a new VA last week as well, and it was all just like crazy. And it all got a bit too much, and I just had to switch off at the weekend. I had to sort of like say, right, I am going to switch off entirely. And the thing is, it's a busy week again this week, not as busy, but different, because the kids are off, and the kids don't want to sit at home. They want to go places and that type of thing. So I thought, I can't allow myself to get back into that mentally, that position again. And I don't think a lot of people talk about this, and it doesn't happen often, but when it does, I don't know if anyone else is like this, but when things happen to me, they tend to just like, things don't happen often, but when they come like bad kind of thing. It's like all at once. It's like, right, you've been going good for the last 2 months. Great, let's whack it all on you right now. And exactly. And it can kind of beat you down. But if it allows you to beat you down and it allows you to stay there, you can stay there for a really long time. And I can't afford that with everything that goes on in business and life and everything like that. So I can't do this. So I have to do something about it. And what I find is one of the easiest things to do about it is just taking a period of time out where you just literally write everything down. You can do it digitally. You can do it, with a pen and paper, however best works for you. Personally, I'm not a software person. So, for me, I'm not going to be, using like, I don't know, Trello or anything like that. However, the easiest possible way to do it. And I literally write everything down, and I break it all down into the different projects. And for me, then I'll allocate what's me, what's Matt, what's the team, what's the VAs, what, whatever, all of these different types of things. And it's just easier for me to process it that way and say, actually, that thing that I was stressing about, that doesn't need to be done until Thursday, or that doesn't need to be done. I was concerned that if I didn't do that, I was going to hit Monday and it was all going to be, I have to do this on the Monday. And I like to do that every now and again anyway. I'm a good planner. I plan the week. I don't put lots on my to-do list. But for some reason, because I sort of didn't do anything over the weekend, coming in on Monday morning, I was concerned, was I going to come in the week? Was I going to start the week the same way as I finished the week, which was this feeling of overwhelm? And like I said, there was a lot of good stuff. It was, a lot of it was good stuff. The majority was good stuff. But I think sometimes people confuse that feeling of overwhelm being to do with like bad stuff. And I was just a bit concerned. Oh my God, if I don't do this, I'm going to miss this. Or if I don't do that, I'm going to miss this. But all I literally did was I wrote it all into Excel. I broke it down into columns. Each project had a column, and I wrote down everything that needed to be done in that. And just by allocating jobs, sending them out, doing it just totally fixed it completely.
Yeah, planning is so important. And I say one of the things I do in my planning is I used to fall into the trap of writing massive to-do lists, and then I think you naturally feel overwhelmed because you've got 100 things to do. When you break them down, a lot of them tasks actually only take 5 or 10 minutes anyway. And most of them tasks, if you have got 100 tasks, you probably should be looking at outsourcing a lot of those tasks because it's not a good use of your time. And one thing I've really started doing is doing like 1 or 2 things a day, just like one thing a day. Like I would far rather do one solid project a day and achieve something in that project than try and do 40 different things and actually feel like I've done nothing and nothing's moving forward and I'm just completely overwhelmed. So one of my best tips is to just do one thing a day, and you'll feel so much more satisfied if you go, right, today I am going to do project XYZ and I'm going to spend 8 hours on project XYZ, and you'll get so much more achieved. You'll have so much more satisfaction than you would do just flitting between these different things and then ending up on Facebook and doing a bit of this and a bit of that, and you just end up doing a bit of everything, a lot of nothing. It's not that you're not working and you're not busy, you're not trying. It's just you're not being productive in your time, and you're never getting into, I think they call it like the zone or flow. We just kind of get into that rhythm, and you put a really good session in of work if you try and do too much stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's about prioritization as well. And they always say, I'm a big fan of eat that frog. You eat your biggest, dirtiest, ugliest frog first, which is the task that you want to do. But I actually think in times of overwhelm, because overwhelm and procrastination are 2 different things. And I think there's different, causes and different cures for both of those. I think at a time of overwhelm, and let me know if this makes sense, because this is the way that I deal with it and process it. Times of procrastination, and we all suffer with procrastination. For me, I just have to get it done hard, get it done, fast, get the thing I don't want to do. Otherwise I sit there and procrastinate it. At times of overwhelm, for me, it is about knocking things off and getting it done, and that sense of accomplishment a little bit. So at a time of overwhelm, I will go through and knock off some of the easier jobs first, the ones that I possibly I know that is not going to be too much of an issue for me to complete. So don't confuse, this is my thoughts on it, and it is only my thoughts on it. I think sometimes people treat overwhelm in the same way that they try and treat procrastination. For me, they're 2 separate different things, and they need different ways of doing it. And whilst luckily I suffer with overwhelm less than I'll suffer with procrastination, and for me, the easier thing is to get that hard task. I don't mind getting the hard task done first. That's not an issue. So it works really well for me. But if you're someone that suffers with overwhelm, then actually maybe you need to knock off a couple of those easier, accomplishing, pat on the back, well done me tasks first before you tackle that big task. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's called the snowball effect, I think, because it's like people say about if you do lots of little things and then eventually you kind of build up the snowball, and then you end up tackling more and more jobs. And it's a very easy way to, rather than what's logical is to start the biggest task, but then you, like you say, you feel completely overwhelmed and you just procrastinate. doing lots and lots of little things builds up that momentum to therefore actually achieve more by doing all the little things first and getting them off your list.
Oh, definitely get the little things. And the other thing is those big tasks, break it down one thing per day. I'm a big fan of that towards that kind of bigger goal. I always say, I'm pretty sure I came up with this saying is, one of my natural abilities that I'm able to do is focus on the now, not to focus too much on the future. But at the same time, if you're always focusing on the now, then you're not thinking about those bigger goals and bigger dreams that you want to achieve in the future. So I always say, really focus on the now, but have half an eye on the future. So making sure that you're doing that one thing per day. And that's all it takes, guys. It takes one thing per day. And this is that snowball effect of, even if it's 10, 15, 20 minutes, if anybody tells me now that they do not have 10 minutes spare or 20 minutes spare per day, you're kidding yourself. Turn off EastEnders, turn off, scrolling, do the trick when you look at how many hours
TikTok.
you're on your phone. Yeah, delete TikTok. Yeah, something like that. If anyone tells me that they don't have 20 minutes spare a day, I don't believe you. Sorry, I just don't. I don't. Everybody has it to be able to do something, to work towards something for the future. You obviously got to write that goal down and work out what it is that you want to be doing. But, even if it's a case of building a website, well, okay, 20 minutes uploading 10 pictures a day or listings,
just
that
do one page of that website. Do the homepage today, do the whatever, the index pages, do the about page.
Micro break it down and do that. And so that's what I wanted, because I think this live in particular is always about getting your contributions as well. Let us know the things that you come across and the things that challenge you, and some of the things that directly relate. I'm sure that if they happen to me, they're happening to you guys. If they happen to me, they're happening to Matt is something that people experience at different times. And I just know last week that I would have been dragged off to the nut house, honestly, if I'd have gone in with the same attitude last week coming into this week and I had to do something about it. I didn't just say, oh, well, let's just carry on. I recognized it. I took action on it. And I'm back in a place this week that, hopefully everything that we've looked at, we can, go ahead and continue on with without being, too much of an issue, because I know that if I'm someone that doesn't address it, it could be a downward spiral kind of thing. So for me, that's what I have to do. So I hope that helps someone. I hope it does. Luke's joined us everyone's on YouTube today. Everyone, I think we need to look at the old Facebook thing. It doesn't send out, like you said, the notifications as much as something. There you go. I'll assign that task to you, Matt.
Just a quick question as well to people. I'm actually interested. Do people tend to listen to this, or do they tend to watch it? Just out of interest. If you could let us know. Do you tend to just kind of have it as? Is that where you have YouTube? Because I know, like on YouTube Premium, you can turn the video off. Do you just tend to listen to us, or do you actually watch us? I'd be really interested in feedback for how we deliver this content going forwards.
Catherine's joined us. Another YouTube viewer. Afternoon, Catherine. Actually, Mark's joined us as well. I forgot to say hello. Listening. There we go. If we manage to do a voice version, then I wouldn't need to do my makeup. Which I know is obviously the same problem you have, Matt.
Exactly. It takes me hours to do my makeup.
Well, I know Ray says he's transitioning, so there we go. Oh, actually, breaking news. I just saw this literally posted. I've not seen it myself. And do you know what? I'm kind of glad, because I've said this a few times now, and I've said it earlier in the year. I said there's a couple of things that I think are going to go up in price this year, and the Prime subscription is one of them. So this is literally broke today, hasn't it? So this is going to be something that I think, is it going up for 79? Is it to 95?
95, I believe. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, something like that. Now, the other big prediction that I said that this is going to be definitely the year of Amazon increases. And the other big one that I said, so I'm going to say it here again, is I think the professional seller fee is going to go up this year as well. I would be
but that's not gone up since day dot, has it? It's been £39 since like 2010. So
39. You're thinking of the US.
how much
25
is it?
plus that.
Oh, is it? There you go.
Yeah, 25 plus VAT is the UK, and it's $39. $39.99.
So it'd probably be £39 then, I imagine.
Yes. So, well, yeah, pretty much with the exchange rate.
I can imagine it going up to that.
Yeah. So, I definitely think that this year we are for sure going to see some. I would be amazed if we didn't see some sort of increase in professional seller fees. Now, some people argue against it because they say, well, they just put up FBA fees, they'll just put up the referral fee, they'll just put up something else, and that's how they absorb the costs. And that's absolutely right. But just think of all the people that have open professional seller accounts that don't do anything. So they don't.
But this is the thing people don't realize is that Prime is primarily funded by the subscription. So the shipping that you pay has already been paid for by people's Prime subscriptions, and that's how Amazon has been able to expand its delivery network so much, because essentially they've had all this money that people have paid up front for delivery that they can invest into their delivery networks, and that's how they've built the warehouses, and that's how they've managed to fund all the expansion.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's these type of things, albeit small, but just imagine. I saw the statistic the other day, and I'm terrible with statistics, I've got to be honest. And I can't remember if it's 1.9. No, it's 1.9. There are 1.9 million Amazon sellers worldwide. 1.9 million Amazon sellers. Now, when you say it, actually, that doesn't sound too much, considering we're a population of 6 or 7 billion or however many we are. Actually, it's a really small percentage. But when you think about the amount of money that is fueling towards Amazon on one side of their business, just one side of their business, it's phenomenal. And then when you think about someone like Helium 10, who have 1 million users on their software, you can understand where those kind of figures are coming from. But 1.9 million sellers. So even if they just increased, and I'm a big fan of this actually, so I won't even hate on Amazon if they do increase it. If Amazon just increases their professional seller fee by £5, or the equivalent of £5, $5, whatever, to 1.9 million, that is an instant revenue lift of 10 million per annum. Per month.
Yeah,
right?
That's 120 million a year.
Yeah.
That's like, imagine, like, for most people, 120 million pounds, like, it's a huge business just in itself. You know what I mean? That's like entire business. That's crazy. I just read a fact actually while you were discussing that. There is 150 million Prime users, and the revenue Amazon gets just from Prime subscriptions is $25 billion. $25 billion just from Prime subscriptions. That's before even buying anything. That's just the Prime subscriptions.
If you times, and 79 to 95, that's a big increase. That's 15%, something like that. That is over and above inflation. Actually, someone's going to tell me no, it's not, because I've worked it out wrong for maths wise. But it's well, whatever you think the true inflation figure is, or whatever. But it's certainly not 10%. What they're saying inflation is at the moment. So Amazon has anticipated. I think this is a really smart move, actually, from Amazon's point of view. And I have to look at it from a business point of view, not from my own personal point of view as a consumer or as third-party seller. It's a really smart move, because they haven't just done it in line with inflation. They've done it in line with what the predicted inflation will either be, or they know that someone like Amazon, who are so customer centric, customer is king, customer is first, they know that when they do something like this, they got to do it in a big chunk, and then not do it again for a really long time, because it just leaves a real taste. Also know that we're coming into a cost of living crisis, or we certainly are in cost of living crisis at the moment, which means that automatically they're going to get people dropping off of the Prime subscription. So they need to make sure that they uplift it enough to be able to take some of that edge off of, you know, people falling out, people, you know, not paying their Prime subscription. So actually, it's a really big
Really good
increase.
point, that actually, isn't it? I wonder if part of the increase is to cover the percentage of people they expect to drop their subscription.
Yeah, Netflix, they've lost 1 million viewers, 1 million subscribers in the last 3 months, or the last 3 to 6 months, something like that. And that's even with the likes of, you know, these big kind of trending TV shows and films and things that are coming in. So I actually think Amazon's been really super smart in this price increase, because what they've done is they've laid the foundations. You know, there's ways that you can get around Netflix. You can share accounts, you can do this, you can do that, or whatever. And Netflix know that. Whereas Amazon, you can share Prime accounts. Of course you can. You can have people order for you. But let's face it, Matt, oh, could you order me, you know, that set of house, and I've got to come and pick it up from you, and I've got to do this. What Amazon have done, and especially since COVID, is they have created a tribe, an army of loyal customers that unfortunately they know no matter what that price goes up to, people are going to pay it. The majority are going to pay it because you can't live without that service. They've made it impossible.
Yeah, exactly.
And
people need a next day service now.
Yeah. And how many businesses can do that? A lot of people would now say that Netflix is a service that you can't live without. Well, actually, 1 million people can.
I don't disagree. I don't think you do. I actually think Prime is probably more important because we use it as a business, you know, for, you know, we need a wire, we need stationery, we need it yesterday. No one's got time to go to Ryman's. We just order it on Amazon and it comes next day.
So I suspect that we will see something similar with the professional selling account, and I don't think it's going to be a, you know, £5 increase. I think I think it'll be a big increase, but I think it'll be a big increase that you'll see and you won't see again for 5 years. Because I think we've had this conversation before. I don't think the professional seller fee has ever gone up. I think it's always been £25 plus VAT.
Yeah, I don't think it's not known to change. Not like I know how much it was in the first place.
But I just wanted I just wanted to quickly talk about that, because I know some people are like, oh my God, is Amazon going to lose customers? They're putting up Prime. Believe me, people are going to pay it. It's as simple as that. Then you're not going to see a news report in a year's time saying Amazon has gone, you know, broke because they put their Prime subscription up by 16 quid or whatever they have. So
if anything,
you know, people are going to pay
I think more people will go for Prime.
More people will.
Because the cost of fuel is so high, cost of running a car is so expensive. A lot of people work from home. I think a lot of people will go, oh, we've got 2 cars, let's just sell one, cut this massive expenditure out. We don't need to go to the shops because we've got Amazon Prime. We can have everything delivered. So I actually think it will be the opposite effect. I think the cost of living is actually going to be, plus Amazon's got a reputation, rightly or wrongly, for being cheaper. So I just think people will go, well, it's cheaper, can have it delivered, I don't have to run a car, don't need it, can cut that expenditure out of my life.
Yeah. So guys, don't worry. Amazon customers are not going anywhere. Finally, someone's agreed with me. Simon says, I think the seller subscription will go up as well. I've been saying it for months, and no one believes me. No one says, oh no, it's going to go up. I mean, it may not happen now. It may not happen in 6 months, but it is going to happen at some point. Maybe after Christmas. I don't know, something like that. I definitely think at some point in this year that we will see that seller subscription going up.
January from Amazon's point of view would be a very good time. Most sellers have had Q4. Most people are feeling quite buoyant because they've had really good sales. They're least likely to cancel their seller account because they've had a good Christmas. So most people will have a good Christmas. So I think January would be logically a very good time for Amazon to put that price increase in play.
For sure. By the way, just going back to the comments, most people say that they just listen to us, they don't watch. So that's interesting. Sean said inflation, it's really 20%. Yeah, I don't know if it's that high, but I'm definitely on board with it's not what it is. Also, Bank of England interest rates I think it's next week, a week today probably, isn't it? No, a week on Thursday I think they go up, and they're saying that they're going to be the biggest rise in quite a while. I think most people predicting 0.5% for that one. So yeah, definitely still on that bumpy road and more to come for sure. Sean says, I hope they don't add TV license to council tax. More people are cancelling the TV licenses forever. Rumour that they will add it to the council tax. I think there will be outrage if that happens, because it's always been, a choice. It's mandatory, obviously, but, they can't force you to watch, they can't force you to watch it if you don't want to. And for the first time ever, I've actually thought about cancelling a TV license for the first time ever. Because just don't really watch a lot, and anything we can get, we can stream. So it's never thought I would ever think about doing that. But yeah, those are the sort of things that I think most people want to get rid of.
And I actually think that would be a massive disaster, because I think if they did force it on council tax, more people would try and avoid it because out of principle, the principle of the tax, rather than. I think a lot of people just pay. Well, I mean, me personally, I don't really watch an awful lot of live TV, but I just pay it because it's easier. It's
Definitely.
done then, isn't it? You don't get all the nasty letters. I know they can't do anything, but you just don't want the hassle.
They can't do anything, and I think there's some sort of thing. This is when you need Matt Webley. He would know all the ins and outs of, where you can watch your TV license and things. I think you can. Oh no, that's it. You can watch iPlayer. You don't need. I don't think you need the TV license.
You can't watch anything live on iPlayer.
Ah, right. Okay.
I don't think you can watch. No, you can't watch. I don't think you can watch iPlayer at all, actually, without a TV license.
Oh, can't you? I don't know. I don't know the rules.
I think you can't watch live TV and you can't watch iPlayer, but obviously, like ITV Hub, Demand 5, all that can be watched.
That's an interesting point. Stuart says, I can't imagine I felt BBC Radio was also in the license fee, which,
yeah, that's another thing, because how do they? I know it's a TV license, but there's a lot of radio programs, isn't it? As well, BBC radio programs. I listen to the radio quite a lot on my travels, so.
Not quite Webley-fied yet, but I'm getting there, not quite. Right. So Catherine said, not had a TV license for over 10 years. Don't miss it. So we'll wait and see what happens in the future. I think there's bigger fish to kind of fry at the moment. Hayden's joined us and has said he is overwhelmed and understocked, which was the title of today's thing, which is absolutely what we want to talk to you about today, guys. Some of the things that you can do now in order to get ready for that kind of Q4. It is coming. Literally Christmas designs. I'm looking up Christmas designs. I put a brief to our designer in last night for our Christmas design packages. It's happening, it's coming, and nothing's going to stop it. So it's 100%, this is the stuff that you want to start thinking about. And when you've got the hottest day of the year, it's hard to. But I want to talk through a couple of things about Q4. But one of the things I wanted to ask you guys about, because we want this to be as interactive as possible, is what are some of the things that you do into place, when it comes to your stock management, when it comes to looking after kind of inventory? Are you someone that is pretty good at managing it? Do you think that you're pretty hot on it in the way that you do it? Are you somebody that kind of looks at it and says, oh man, I'm missing out on so much opportunities? It's only when you realize you've been out of stock of something for 3 months and then the price has gone up and you could have been getting 100% ROI on something. What do you guys do to kind of manage that inventory, to look at it and to see what operations it's within your business? Now, Matthew, I know that you have a very big, expensive process in place that kind of deals with that. And I think
to be fair, that was only a recent development. We struggled with stock management for a very long time to make it effective, and we had a system, but it was never complete, I would say. Like, it couldn't handle everything and it didn't grow with us as a business. That's what I think people forget, is that they kind of start off, they kind of do things manually, they have spreadsheets, and that's all well and good when you've got a few hundred orders. But when you've got 1,000 orders a day or 1,000 orders a week, that's a big challenge. And that's where I think a lot of sellers, they don't really think about, okay, yes, this works for me now, but is it going to work for me next year or in 5 years' time? Because changing system is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's one of those things that kind of facilitates, it doesn't facilitate growth as well. And I think it's only when you find a solution that works for you, that you realize potentially, one, how much it could have been holding you back, but also the impacts that it could have on cash flow in your business and forecasting within your business and all of these different types of things. So I'm curious to see how people, we're still talking about BBC and Sky at the moment, but I'm curious to see what systems people use, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. But it's something that I'm curious to see what people, because there's software out there at the moment like Sellerboard and that type of thing, and they facilitate, you know, a certain amount, obviously. But do you use these type of softwares to the best ability? Because one thing with regards to getting back into managing a lot of SKUs now that we're back selling in traditional arbitrage again, is when you are selling hundreds of SKUs and all of these different types of things, you can miss opportunity, you know, quite a lot, unless you have, you know, obviously people have custom software systems, people have their own systems in place. And we're not saying just because, you know, you do it off of spreadsheets, it's not working. It's very much what works for the individual person. Absolutely. But there's probably things that you're using already that if you're not, you know, doing things like this, then you could be missing out on those opportunities. And this is the time to look at those kind of opportunities, see what you've already got and see how you can maximize those opportunities as much as possible. So, you know, have an open kind of mind. If you use something like Sellerboard, well, there's an option on Sellerboard to filter your orders every month by the amount of units that you sold per each product. So therefore, if you are not looking at that and looking at what you are selling the most of in a monthly, weekly period, and then checking whether or not you can get more, you know, more of that, even be it at a lower margin, maybe you can buy it cheaper, all of these different types of things. It's pretty much, that's how you should be looking at and attributing your buying budgets on a weekly basis. Should you be going back and filtering and looking at the products that you sold last Q4? Are any of those opportunities going to be coming back out? And you can do something like Sellerboard, and it's so simple to be able to, you don't need like a super duper system to be able to put that in place. And I just wanted to kind of, and what can often happen is if you're not looking at the opportunities that are already there, then sometimes what can happen, you can get into that period of overwhelmed, and then you haven't got any stock, but actually you're not facilitating the opportunities that that are already there, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think a problem as well with a lot of people who have kind of spreadsheet-based systems, they work from an administration point of view, which is fine, but they don't give you the up-to-the-minute data. And if you're being too reactionary, you're missing opportunity because you're not spotting, you know, you want a system that goes, alert, this item's selling really well, i.e. are we underpricing it? You know, can we get more stock of it? You know, these little things. And a lot of it goes, you know, it's too late, you know, and particularly when you build out a team, you know, people make mistakes. What could happen is you could send a pallet of stuff in, it could sell amazingly well, you think everything's hunky-dory, and then you run your numbers 2 weeks later and you go, oh, someone underpriced that, they put the wrong price in, they were meant to put 28 and they only put 18, they mistyped it, or, you know, things like that. And it's about having that information in advance so you can rectify these changes without spending your whole life clicking refresh on Amazon, because that isn't a good use of time either.
And there are people out there, and David has dared to disagree with you, Matthew, on YouTube. He said, oh, sorry, very much agree. I thought we were disagreeing. I thought it was like rumble. I thought there was going to be a fight. Oh, I'm not interested in reading it now. No, I'm only joking. David says, I very much agree with Matthew here. I thought it was going to be a disagreement. I have a set of systems that I manage what's ordered, received, missing, shipped, not shipped by the prep center. It does require a chunk of manpower to administer that. And that's the thing, I think as well, is that there's not a complete system, definitely not that I'm aware of anyway, that kind of manages.
There is if you're prepared to spend £1,000 a month.
Well, yes, but I think even
otherwise, that's what I mean. There's a massive gap. Yeah, there's a massive gap between like the startup systems like Sellerboard, which will do for so many, and then there's the thousands of pounds a month systems, but there's kind of nothing in between.
No. So it'd be interesting. It'd be good to hear people's thoughts on this, what you guys are using. Is there any hacks? We're a community at the end of the day. It's not like you're giving away someone's ASIN or something like that. But it's these type of things in business. And this definitely relates back to what I was posting about earlier in the week when I said we all love that, when we start a new business, when we started this group, we talk about things like everybody, no matter how experienced you are in business, you go to the fun thing first. What are we going to call it? Let's get some business cards. Oh, let's design a logo. Let's do all these things. But actually, they are important factors within a business, because you can't really start a business without that. But at the end of the day, they're generally not the things that contribute to your overall long-term success in a business. And we get excited by the aesthetics. Oh, what color green shall I put on my website? That type of thing. So when it comes to thinking about these type of things, sometimes it's important to get a bit more granular and really break down, because I tell you what, these things are the things, they won't make or break your business, but they could be the difference between stagnation and growth during a period of time.
I think they could make or break your business, and I'll reference a particular example. See, the thing is, a lot of people currently probably sell on Amazon and eBay, where what you don't realize is the systems already exist; they're built for you. When you go out and build your own website, you have to create the systems, you have to create the returns process, you have to create the payment process, the order shipment process. And people go, oh, I've designed a really nice website, I've got the stock, I've got the marketing, I've got the Google ads, and they do all this. And what happens if it's a runaway success and they have no idea how people can actually purchase, how they can ship the orders? A lot of people forget to deal with returns, and they get really angry customers because customers can't raise returns because there's no system, and you're dealing with emails, and it's just a complete mess. So actually, I think, if you don't have the back end in place, particularly when you start doing your own thing and doing a website, it could literally kill your business.
Mm-hmm. And I think it comes that professional overwhelm as well. And I'm going to make the difference, like I said, of calling it professional overwhelm as opposed to just overwhelm. Because there are some times in life, like I said, where I feel overwhelmed with everything that's happening in my personal life, but it's got nothing to do with my business, but it could have an impact on my business. Or there's loads of stuff that's going on the business side of things with professional overwhelm that is, that could eventually filter into my personal life and could cause, overall overwhelm, I suppose. But, it's all of these facilitations and putting these kind of processes into place to do as much as you can to be able to head off those type of things in the future. Prevention is always better than prevention is always better than the cure, for sure. And I think for me I'd love to hear about people's experiences from, things that they do in their business from a proactive point of view. Exactly what I spoke about, at the very start of this, in terms of, making that proactive choice that I was drowning a little bit last week. And if I didn't do something about it, I would be gone. I would have been swept away in terms of, everything that's going on, both good and bad, and everything with just general life at the moment. So having something and facilitating something into your business and looking at it from a proactive point of view as opposed to a reactive point of view, I think, it'd be great to hear about what people are doing. And, like I said, instead of looking at something maybe from a past point of view, anticipate for the future. So if you have been selling for longer than a year, instead of looking back on seller board at everything that's sold well in the last month, that's great. But that's kind of been and gone, and that opportunity might have gone. Well, actually have a look forward to what you were selling this time last year in the coming month. Add that into your process. Is there something similar? Is it seasonal? The most impact we see of something like that is obviously going to be around Christmas, the seasonal sort of peaks and troughs, that are going to be coming in the future. But tend to look forward. Don't always be looking back at the same time, because sometimes the past doesn't equal the future. But it's a good place to start, I suppose.
Yeah, totally agree. It's just there's so much, and also Q4 as well in terms of pricing. Because one of the big things I think I posted about the other day is that there's a lot of opportunity for RAOA at the moment, where if you look back at price rises in Christmas, there's certain things that always increase in price. Right now is the lowest price of the year to buy these things, and you can often buy them in August, just hold them until September, October, and double or triple your money just by simply holding them for 2 months.
The other thing I wanted to highlight, which relates into that as well, is I wanted to talk just for just a couple of minutes about having an open mind, having a fluid mind with Amazon, and not fluid in the way that sometimes fluid means now, but having an open mind, because we talk about, and again, I've seen it a lot. There's been a lot of bashing, a lot of price tanking bashing at the moment, as there always is. And don't get me wrong, I am not saying that the people aren't price tanking and they are literally idiots, because I understand the strategy, I understand everything to do with it, but it doesn't always force faster sales. So therefore, if something's got £10 profit, to reduce it to £1 profit, it doesn't make sense. I've seen you see big drops where I understand the lemmings, I understand that, but big drops to force the sale, no, I don't get on board with that. But what I'm saying is, I think what people, maybe this isn't talked about enough, and I'm guilty of it as well, is that what you source at is very rare at what you're going to sell at in anything. Okay. Amazon is like the stock market, right? You buy stock one day and it could be worth less the next day. And I think that's how we need to start talking about Amazon more. Just because you bought it at £5 and it was selling at £15 doesn't mean that it's going to be selling at £15 tomorrow. Now, of course, I know that there's a reason why the prices are going down. I get that. But what I'm saying is, unless you are selling an individual private label product, there is no consistency in price forever in selling on Amazon. There just isn't. If anyone can find me an example of a arbitrage product that hasn't changed in price over a year's period with, other than obviously someone's own product, if that made sense, or a very unsaturated product, then please share that. It changes because there's so many different variables here. What you're happy with margin wise, the next person might not be. And what they're happy with, the next person won't be. They won't be happy with the level of sales. And that's how I think we've got to start looking at it in the future, as opposed to, going on TikTok. You buy it for this and you sell it for this. Well, actually, no, that's not true at all. You buy it for this. That's the only cause, that's the only constant, is you buy it for that. And you might be able to sell it for this, depending on how long you, sit on that stock, or when you send that stock in, or how much it costs you if you're using a prep center or someone's not using a prep center, all of these different variables. So I think if we start by thinking about it from a kind of buying and selling stock arbitration point of view, and that's exactly the thing, arbitrage, that's what it means as well, as opposed to, oh man, I bought it for 5 and now I can't sell it. And now my life's ruined because it's gone down to 14.
Yeah. So, but the funny thing is, if you look at a lot of them products, I bet if you go back to last year, the products you cleared at basically nothing, look at them today. I bet you that you could have made a killing on them,
Of course. But the thing is, and again, I don't want anyone to confuse this to me, as me giving the advice, sit on everything, never sell anything at a loss. Never. There is a time and place, and it's all about having that process within your business. And, I was really fortunate to spend, a good half a day with Tom Parkinson the other day, and I was talking to this about him. And, he was sort of saying, if big sellers, I think they often get accused of just price tanking regardless or whatever, and I'm not going to get into that argument, guys, here, but they are brutal if they are about moving stock and turning it over really, really quickly. And if it is, Thomas's systems in particular are so good that it does not last one day out of a metric or a time frame that it's not supposed to have sold within that period of time. And that's what I mean. You have to have that kind of fluid mind to be able to understand that not everybody is it's not a level playing field. And that's the same with stocks and shares, because if somebody buys, I don't know, Disney stocks at 100 quid and they go down, by 10p, well, okay, I might have lost £5, but at the same time, another person might have bought exactly the same stock and they might have bought £10,000 worth of stock, and therefore they've had a bigger loss and it's a more of an impact. And then that person gets on Facebook and they start talking about it, and then that has an impact on it, and it starts this kind of mood. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. Also, another thing that people don't realize is that one of our strategies, we often sell portions of stock at just cost price because we have so much of it. You've got to remember that not everybody who sells numbers and does arbitrage. They're not buying 5 and 6 out of Tesco's. Some people are going to the manufacturer and they're being told, yeah, you can have this line, but you've got to take 4,000. And therefore they're going, and this is what I do. I go, right, we'll take the 4,000. We'll get the lower price point. We'll sell 3,000 at cost to clear the stock, get the cash back in, and we'll keep the 1,000 and sit on them and hold them. And we don't even put them on Amazon. We just have them in the warehouse and we'll sit on them and make our profit. I did it with a line the other day. I bought 3,000 units of a particular line. We're going to sell 1,500 at cost price, and the remaining 500 we're going to put at a really high price in about 6 months' time. So anybody who bought that from a retailer has not got a chance.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, and Pardy makes a great comment here, and Matt, this is pretty much what you've just said. Is he said, I have to, I've got rid of a load of stock today due to price tanking, but with the price tanking, should I hold on to it? And this is the argument that a lot of sellers have. So why not? I'm a big fan of variety. Variety is the spice of life. We talk about margin mixing a lot. Just because something's gone down and you want to clear it, work out what your cost price is to clear it, right? To get your initial investment back, maybe, because maybe you've already sold some at profit, right?
Yeah.
And then, say, for instance, you bought 10, you sold 3, the price tanked, you're left with 7. Well, actually, maybe clear 3 or 4 and hold 3.
Yeah.
So you can wait for that recovery, because if anyone's in the position that they have to sell all of their stock every 30 days, then this isn't the right market for that, because it's not going to happen because of all of the different variables, in everything that goes on in business. So what I would say is margin mix it up. And I think that's some of the biggest tips that we can give to people is, and changing that mindset of, right, if I bought at 5 and I sell at 15 and I bought 10, I'm not going to be happy unless I sell 10, at 15. And that's what it is. The likelihood of that actually happening is really, really small. So it's all about having that fluid mind of changing it up and looking at that overall thing. So when it comes to it, and do you know, I don't even think I've ever said this out loud before. But when it comes to it, making a really intelligent decision on not dumping all of your stock, but working out how much it is to cover your cost, and then leaving potentially 2 or 3 units. And then what will eventually happen is you kind of forget about them. And then all of a sudden you increase the bottom line on your repricer. And then in 2 or 3 months' time, potentially when the profit is recovered, then you can be getting, 50, 60, 70% ROI, 20% net margin on some of these products. Now, imagine doing that on every single one of your lines periodically over a period of 3 to 6 months. Then actually, that's something that you can do within your business really proactively, that you're kind of banking extra profits for the future. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And also, if you think about it this way, if you do, like you said, if you sell so much and get your investment back, this stock owes you nothing. It doesn't owe you any capital. As long as it's not costing you too much in storage, effectively it's free. Think of it like that in your head. And therefore, the rest of it is profit. So whatever you get for it is profit. Now you can sit and hold that, or you can, sell it quickly, whatever works for you. Just back to that one, I think you said somebody asked, should I sit on them or should I sell them? I think the problem as well, you've got to consider this is a very vague question. It depends on your circumstances. It depends on your strategy. Do you want to turn things over quickly? Have you got more deals in the pipeline that this stock is not enabling you to do, whether that be from a cash perspective or space perspective? Then these are things that you need to consider in your decision. It's not a clear cut, yes, I should clear my stock. No, I shouldn't clear my stock. It depends on your cash, on your situation. Are you missing opportunity because of it? Then I would argue you probably should clear it because it's costing you money. If there isn't any other opportunity at the moment for you because of your situation, circumstances, whatever, there's no deals out there for the moment, then absolutely hold it. Why would you clear stuff you've already got if there's nothing new coming in?
Playing devil's advocate there definitely is that I don't believe anybody couldn't leave one in stock.
Yeah, totally.
You know, so what I'm saying is if you could get into that habit of that compounding effect of leaving 10% or 20% of stock in stock, because again, I probably, I'm a bit feisty today, so I probably have an argument with anyone that says that it's very rare, unless something is continuously available at a lower price and people are happy to pay pennies, that it is very rare that after a period of saturation where price tank has occurred, that it doesn't go back up in price. So therefore, if you can really get into that habit of, leaving 20% of your stock, then what you're doing is you're kind of investing in your future, essentially. And that overall, if you can do that on every single SKU, you start maybe with 10%, then you increase to 20%. Then once it starts to work and once it's a cycle of once it starts to catch up on itself, one of the best things if you've got a huge amount of cash flow is to buy stock. And I know, Matt, this is a perfect example of what you do. You buy it and you sit on it for 6 months. If you can do that, then you tend to operate a really high margin business. And I know a lot of people who watch this do operate that model, but it's not practical for everyone because not everybody has that level of cash flow within their business.
I would say I don't think I think cash is easy to get. Storage is the challenge.
Yeah, potentially. But if you can get into the habit of, leaving 1 or 2 in stock, then you could potentially be doing that where you can just set and forget on your repricer. And then all of a sudden when it sells, and this would be perfect for the people that really want to try and increase their margins within their business, automatically you could see a nice increase in margin in your business if you're going through it. Because imagine how many SKUs most people most people have within their business. Most people probably running an arbitrage business probably have somewhere between 200 and 300 kind of SKUs. If you are, sort of a beginning, maybe 6-figure seller, something like that. Well, just think about at any one time, if you're leaving 2 or 3 units in stock every single time and waiting for that to recover. I think that's a really good idea. Just thought of it.
Yeah, 100%. I had a thought about a real life example. Let me just see if I can find it. I'm sure there was a particular product that we were selling last year. That's it, I found it. So last year, there was a product, it was 7th of August, we were selling for £9.85, okay? Now, that exact same product, given that it's a year on, we are now selling for £49.99, and we are selling more units at £49.99 than we were at £9.95. Yeah.
Less competition as well.
We just shoved it in the warehouse and sat on it.
That's the other thing as well, just taking that into account, which is, yes, you're going to wait for there may be less sales, but there's also less competition as well. So
we're getting 5 times the price per unit. Okay, yes, we've had to have that sat in storage on a shelf in the warehouse for a year, but we're getting 5 times the price.
Yeah. I think we should do, actually, I think this is something we should, I'll be writing a few posts about this, actually. I mean, I'm always a fan of, always practiced and always preached margin mixing, but I don't think I've ever publicly said about, kind of keeping a few units back in stock and, trying to use that to increase margin mixing the other way. So hopefully, if there's anyone still listening out there, not watching, because we know you don't watch us now.
Nobody watches.
Yeah, it's just listening. If anyone is, struggling with margin, asking that question that Pardeep asked, should I hang? Is it the right choice? Split the difference, because we all have it. We get the FOMO. We're like, oh God, do I follow them off the cliff? If they go, I'm going to go. It's never going to recover. But then we all have that kind of lemmings remorse afterwards, don't we? Where you happen again upon that listing 2 or 3 months later, and it's like, oh man, if I didn't just held on for one more week, if only well, probably not that difference, but one more month or something like that. So yeah, split it down and have that foresight in your mind to know this is what you buy at, and what you think you're going to sell at is not going to happen. Another tip actually is work out that range to start with on your buying sheet. So don't just put it down as sell for 15, put it down for sell for 11.50 to 15, something like that. So mentally you're preparing yourself already for the fact that there could be some saturation, could be some price tanking that occurs. Be interesting actually for anyone that's left listening, for anyone that's in pure arbitrage, what percentage of listings do you think tank in price? I've got an idea in my head what I think it is.
I think it's 85 to 90%.
I had 80 in my head. So I'd be really curious, and bearing in mind,
I think if it's retail, I think retail arbitrage is probably close, more like 30 to 40%.
I would have said, definitely around 50% for retail arbitrage. So if you mix a bit in, then obviously if someone's doing retail, it's gonna lessen that. So it'd be curious. Sham says 90%. Wow. Okay, so close to what you were saying. Potentially.
I think I'm not against deal sheets or anything, but I think if you're buying off deal sheets, you're pretty much guaranteed the price is going to tank, because that deal's been presented to more people. I'm not saying they're bad or good. I'm just saying that they are going to tank, and you need to accept that as part of your strategy. Whereas making your own OA deals, you might stumble upon something that others don't.
I'm going to defend deal sheets a little bit here. I feel I'm definitely
you're only out for an argument today.
I know I am. I'm going to defend deal sheets a little bit here, especially the more established ones that have been around for a long time. They get a lot of hate on deal sheets, but what I will say is, when it says, oh, we only share with 6 people, or we only do this, or we share with a certain amount of people. Yeah, we all know that's not to be the case, but it's not because the deal sheet is lying. It's because you have deal services, people signing up for other people's deal services, and then they will share that deal on their deal services. Or you will have a VA that is, part of a VA network that then shares it to that deal services.
Or so perhaps people have just found it anyway. If
a
deal sheets VA can find it, then an individual's VA is probably going to find it as well.
Exactly. So I think they should rebrand themselves as lead services, not deal services, because at the end of the day, again, if you're buying a deal from a deal service, and if you expect to sell it at that price, kind of more for you a little bit, because at the end of the day, how can they ever possibly guarantee that that's the price it's going to be what it is? It should be looked at as a lead, and you need to follow up on that lead and maximize that lead as much as possible. So I do think deal services and deal sheets do get a bit of a bad rap, and I know that there's people out there that run them phenomenally well with the best possible integrity as they can. But you can't stop arseholes joining at the end of the day, and people sharing those leads and doing that. So yeah, I think I should go. I'm getting really feisty today. But yeah, I'm going against the popular mood, I think. Simon says deal sheets help, but they're a nightmare at the same time. I understand that. And naturally, I think as humans, we go for the easiest option. You've got to remember, if it is that lowest hanging fruit, then if it's easy, it means anyone can do it. It's as simple as that. But I think at the same time, it's a little bit what we're talking about from a margin mix point of view as well, is that you can do everything that everyone else is doing, but in moderation. If you do use deal sheets, don't purely rely on them 100% of the time and expect those type of results. bring them in 20% of your business. If you have a certain percentage of your budget that you can afford to sit on for 3 months, buy 20% off of a deal sheet and sit on it for, whatever.
Plus,
use it smartly.
Don't forget with deal sheets that they are actually very cheap. People don't realize this. Remember, if you've got to cost the deal, RA is the most expensive because you've got fuel and time. Then you kind of got OA. If you've got somebody working for you, it's probably costing you X, Y, Z. How successful they are depends on the VA. Deal sheets are fixed price, so they're probably actually the cheapest way to get deals. So, okay, yes, the profit might not be as much, but actually, if you look at the bigger picture, they may have more profit in than you realize because you're not spending £500 a month for a VA that might not be pulling in very many good deals anyway.
For sure. And I love Sean's comment here. Actually, it's so funny because when you cross over to the dark side of creating your own listings, it's so funny because when you're a pure arbitrage seller, you're like, and if someone tries to stop you from listing on a listing, or you get an IP claim, or you get like IP claims, that's different, sorry. But if somebody like restricts you from selling their particular product, or boots stop you from doing something or another, we're like, how dare they? How can they stop me from doing this? We live in a world of free speech. We do this or whatever. But then as soon as you create your own listings, as soon as people jump on those, you're like, how dare they jump on my listings? It goes from one extreme to the other. But there is a way, obviously, from a bundle point of view, that you can legitimately do that. But absolutely, it's one of those things that I always try and say to people, and that's why I teach the bundle system that I do, and anyone knows the bundle system that I teach. It's 50-50. 50% you can protect, 50% you can't. So if you do create those listings, you have to understand that people are going to jump on them, but you have to take it as a compliment at the end of the day. It means you've created a good listing. It's as simple as that. For sure. Yeah, karma got me back. Oh, Sean, it's not about that. It's like, but no, it is so funny. I see it all the time, and I would always have people's backs that kind of brand owners that didn't want people selling on their products, because we've always created our own opportunities to some extent. So I always understood it from that point of view. I definitely see it from both sides of the coins, for sure. Chris, I can't wait for you. I do not teach that. just to clarify. But there is a legitimate way that you can do it, which is a fair way to do it. So if anyone wants to know about that, then please do let me know. Well, I'm like created like a bunch of like Revengers or something. Oh, it does make me laugh.
I'm just going to jump back to this. I don't know if you saw it earlier. Did you see this one earlier?
Oh my! Yes, Phil, I did, and I apologize. It is the curse.
I've got you back. It's all right.
Yeah, it is the curse of YouTube comments. They do get lost in the Facebook comments. Right. Let me talk about this really quickly. I did do a post on it at the start of the week, and I don't want to focus on it too much now because there is so much uncertainty on this at the moment. So this is the new HSS, or whatever the abbreviation is, HSSH or something. Food promotional regulations. So for anyone that doesn't know what this is, so anything that's kind of bad for you food wise, and there's about 13 different categories, and it falls under biscuits and sugary drinks, and the sugar tax is, we've it's been coming for a while. It's kind of related to that. It's an extension of that, I suppose. And it's to do with how foods that are deemed to be bad for you or unhealthy, that are high in saturated fat, sugars and salts, how they can be promoted moving forward. Now, of course, a lot of people do sell goodies on Amazon, so people are going to be naturally concerned how it's going to impact. So I'll quickly run into this, and I did mean to cover this today. Sorry, just got a bit ranty, so kind of forgot about it. What we know so far, which isn't a lot actually, and I can't remember who it was, but someone quite rightly said some of the things that are due to be put into place, restrictions on promotions, have actually been delayed. They're not going to come in until next year, whether that's due to break, I don't know, whatever it's to do with. But essentially what it's saying is, we can't promote certain types of food in the way that have been able to be promoted before. Now, first and foremost, this is predominantly going to be for big employers. It's going to be for your Tesco's that do 3 for 2 on McVitie's, Jaffa cakes and things like that. What they want to do is get away from the majority of promotion of these healthy goods. So it is forcing people, you know, to kind of, oh, someone walking in.
Oh,
It's forcing people to take in, you know, to go for a healthier choice, essentially, as opposed to an unhealthy choice. Now, from an Amazon point, so you've already seen it. So when you go to the checkouts, it's already started to happen. It's about where food can be placed and how it can be promoted. So you've seen all the bad food is being removed from the end of the aisles. The sweet sections by the checkouts, they're starting to be phased out. All of these different types of things, it's being replaced with healthy options instead. I noticed it so much when I went to Sainsbury's the other day when we went out the self-checkout. They had all like the Kind bars and the protein bars as opposed to the Snickers bars, which I was really annoyed about because I really wanted the Snickers bar and I couldn't be bothered to walk to the back of the shop and get one. So I suppose it had its desired effect in that respect. But so it's placement of food, but it's also promotion of. Now, from an Amazon seller point of view, what we don't know is how that is going to impact us from an advertising point of view. Are Amazon going to remove the opportunity for paid advertising, for promotion of these certain types of foods that fall under these categories? They have yet to confirm that. But what we do know probably at this stage is there's a certain way that you can work out how these foods fall under these categories. And I'm going to do a separate post about that. You have to do like a calculation. Now, from my experience with Amazon is there's no halfway house with Amazon. They don't tend to say, do you know what? We'll put someone on this and we'll manually go through and work out what works for our sellers and what doesn't. It's a bot style system. If it doesn't fit within a certain parameter with Amazon, they get rid of it. That's personally how I see Amazon operate from the, you know, from my point of view. Is there's no kind of ifs or buts, but what if this? And we see this with food and safety product information. So I think it's probably going to come down to a little bit like we saw with the food and product safety violations. If it doesn't have the right information on the listing, then definitely we could be at risk of those listings disappearing. So this is what I want people to be more diligent about the products that they're going to be buying between now and October. Not so much now. If you feel that it's going to fall within that kind of category that I listed the other day on Facebook, have a little think about, is the nutritional information, we don't know what Amazon's going to insist on. Is the nutritional information in the pictures? Okay, if it's not in there, okay, I'm going to have to probably sell out of this item before the 1st of October. So it's just being a little bit more due diligent in the choices that you're making, in the products that you're selecting, if they are on the goodie side of things. I can't call them bad because they're too good. You know, of anything that's high in, which is everything, to be honest. You know, isn't it? All the good stuff. So that's what the kind of advice is, just to be a bit diligent at the moment and not buying in bulk, which is going to affect a lot of seasonal. So actually, that's the thing I was going to say. So if you are someone that buys 4,000 advent calendars at the end of August in the hope that you are going to sell them in mid-November, just bear this in mind. That listing might not be available to sell because it might fall under this new kind of regulation. And I can't, again, apologies, I can't remember who said it in response to my Facebook post, but whoever said it was 100% right. It's definitely going to be a case. This Q4 is like nothing that we've ever experienced. And this Q4 is going to be more than ever about going shallow and wide. It's going to be about buying 3s and 6s of things. It's not going to be about buying 30s and 6s of things because the demand dynamic has changed. There's more restrictions than ever. while we're in the South, we've got this new rule coming in on the grocery side of things, DOCs, everything like that.
I've noticed Amazon is very difficult to get the buy box now on certain products. They've introduced this. We've had a few problems with this competitive price. I don't know if anyone's seen this, whereby Amazon decides what is a competitive price, and if you are not a competitive price, then you won't get the buy box, and nobody has the buy box. That's hurt us on a few listings.
Yeah, absolutely. So whilst there's ways to kind of, so you're talking about buy box suppression, yeah?
So what it is, it's the featured offer, so which is essentially being in the buy box. Amazon's put a thing, I don't know how recent it is, it's called competitive price. And they say, let's say this item's competitive price is £12 because they deem it, because they've probably sold it at £12 in the past, or somebody else somewhere is selling it at £12. So if you're not selling it at £12, then therefore there will be no buy box because you're not deemed to be competitive.
Yeah.
Even if Amazon is making a massive loss on the product and the product isn't available anymore, they see, well, we sold it for £12 6 months ago, so therefore £12 is the competitive price.
See, it's interesting because that's buy box suppression, and that's been around for ages, but because of your selling model, you don't experience that often. Whereas probably the guys more on the arbitrage side of things, where there's these kind of lower end prices, because it's very rare that you're going to experience such a massive, swing in price kind of thing, or a massive uplift in price. So what you can do actually for anyone, and it works really well for suppressing buy boxes, but you kind of need a little bit of stock to be able to do it. You can't really do, well, you can do it on 3 units, I suppose. What you can do is, I call it like a little wiggle down. So if you wiggle the price down and find that kind of sweet spot, now it's more than likely that you're going to probably lose a unit to that wiggling down, and you may end up making a loss or whatever. Well, probably don't wiggle down more than you're going to lose money, I suppose, but you kind of wiggle down as much as possible. You find that sweet spot where you get the buy box back, and then what you can do is, once you get the buy box back, Amazon are actually, if you go up slow, they're actually more lenient on suppressing the buy box as opposed to a big jump, which is when the buy box goes. And what it might be, well, some people will say, well, in the past, I've seen that it's sold for £40 and they've suppressed it because it's gone below a certain amount. Well, actually, yes, that's true. And it will always remember that price. It will remember that price. But what Amazon doesn't like, the algorithm doesn't like big jumps,
big changes,
and that's when
you put your price of kind of say 10p a day, or depending on relative, depending on the price point, it will gradually
we definitely always say, when it comes to any type of suppression or any type of change on Amazon as well, 50p at a time. When we're moving bids on PPC, it's 50p at a time. It's not it's not these big kind of wide stretches. So honestly, I imagine if anyone's jumping on now, like, what on earth? Right, wiggle down and 50p up. That's what we want to do.
No big stretches.
Yeah, you can go down in bigger, in bigger jumps, but you can't go up in bigger jumps, and that's when the suppression occurs. Wiggle down and then move up, and I guarantee you that you will be. Well, I can't guarantee it, but it has more impact if you say it. You will get the buy box back. You will the suppression will occur higher than it did before. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
if the
point of suppression was going to be, for example, in my example, we're £12, we can get that to 13. Problem for us is £12 is a loss, but £13 is a profit. So we won't want to go down to the £12. But I get your strategy, and like you say, it's funny actually, because even in my experience, we very rarely actually have buy box suppression, so it's quite a new phenomenon for us. But I imagine for certain people, it's probably a lot more common.
Buy box suppression is about 2 years old, possibly even a little bit more now, and it generally comes in. And again, why does it come in? One, it's bot triggered. There's no doubt about it, but it causes Amazon. But also they do random checks as well. So people don't realize Amazon, they don't want to just be known as amazing customer centric company. They want to be known as a competitive customer centric
Yes.
company as well. So they will double check on really popular items, and if the price is too far out, then they will take it. They don't want to be known. They don't want to leave a bad taste in an Amazon customer's mouth where they've overpaid and gone through the nose on something. So that's why they do it. So it's a customer protection instinct. It's not because they don't want people to sell products. Of course they do. But you look at Jeff Bezos's 14 core principles or whatever it is. And the first one is customer. It's the customer.
Yeah.
We know that.
Customer.
They will do everything. Actually, good tip. I love watching entrepreneurial stuff. I love, we were talking about TV earlier, and I love watching something that's got like an entrepreneurial kind of edge to it. And there's a program that I watch. It's probably massively exaggerated and dramatized and everything, but I'm loving it at the moment. And I've literally so I think most people who've got Sky probably get this. It's on Paramount Plus. It's called Super Pumped, which is the story of the guy who started Uber. And I mean, like I said, it's a dramatization of it, and I'm sure it's massively exaggerated, but there's people in it that everyone knows. It's like the Google people and everything like that. And what's interesting is it focuses on a part. It's not about the growth, but it focuses on a part of a battle, I think, between him and the people that invested the VC money into the business. And what's really interesting is he actually based his philosophy of running Uber on Jeff Bezos's core principles for Amazon. So that's but if you've got that kind of entrepreneurial interest, it's definitely something I would recommend watching. If you can take away the dramatization of things, it's just interesting, watching how those sort of businesses are built and the dramas that they have to deal with at that level. So yeah, good tip for a watch if anyone wants to watch that.
Great. There you go. Some homework for you.
We'll be rushing to watch that one. Right. Well, we've gone over quite a bit today, but I said we had a lot to cover at the start. I did say we had a lot to cover at the start. Actually, I've not told you this, Matt. Sorry. I've got a guest on next week, so you won't be here.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.
Okay.
I genuinely meant to tell you beforehand. So we're going to be joined.
I'm not here the week after either. So that's 2 weeks without me.
Oh, aren't you? Oh, maybe I'll swap it then. Maybe I'll swap it to have it the week after. Good.
Yeah.
Okay, I won't tell you who it is then. Yeah, I won't tell you. Yeah, I won't tell you who it is. Yeah, so maybe I'll swap it. Oh, Johnny's just joined us, sneaked into the live. Is that a new Matt is king of new backgrounds.
Yeah, I'm going to mix it. I'm working on a new background as well next week, so there'll be a new. Be on next week, so there'll be a new background next week. I like mixing it up.
Like literally, you always manage to go. Do you know what? You warn me, you do it, and I'm gonna do a new one. I'm gonna go and do one up at the office. But the only trouble is when we go to the warehouse is and when Thomas come to visit us a couple of weeks ago, to warn all the staff beforehand because it gets a bit blue in our warehouse. I don't know if it's the same as yours, Matt's, but things get, and I'm like, right, be on your best behavior. This guy's an Amazon VIP, no effing and jeffing, no doing this, no doing that. And I think if I do a live, you know how your printer always goes off when you do a live, I think they'll be screaming and shouting.
What it is? It's because we always go live at 1 o'clock and they always prep the manifest for Rob L at 1 o'clock. So they just print the manifest.
I can just imagine some of the stuff and some of the stuff that would be kind of overheard. So yeah, that's why we will do it live from here. Sure.
Right. I'm actually excited news. We're building another level to our warehouse. So I hope we might have some privacy for these lives.
Yeah, that'll be good. So what are you going to do, like a mezzanine?
So our office currently is just dead space above it. So we're going to build another office above the office with stairs.
So you don't own your warehouse, or do you?
No, I just rent it. Yeah.
So you have to get permission from, but presumably they're not going to say no because it's adding value.
No, we don't have to get permission for internal modifications. Only external. The only condition is it has to be either agreed to be left with it. It has to be basically returned to as it was rented,
Yeah.
But in most cases, I don't think the landlord's going to make us take out something that's going to add 300 square foot to his building that he can rent out and charge more rent. So yeah, it's fine. But
yeah, I think most cases, I know Johnny's watching as well, because I know Johnny added a mezzanine to his warehouse. So I really can't imagine, like I said, anybody being forced to take out a mezzanine when it just adds massive value, unless you are somebody that wants to stock floor to ceiling, obviously. But again, that's floor to ceiling, unless you've got forklifts and those things. Sound like I'm doing a blessing, but no, the things that move. Is it a forklift?
Yeah, either a reach truck or a forklift.
Yeah, the one that gets the stuff at the top, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
so
go on and reach truck.
Yeah, so unless you've got that, but yeah, no, it's cool. Bit more privacy for sure. So yeah, I totally lied. So no, Matthew is going to be next week. So if whoever was coming on, if you're watching, I'm going to have to reschedule you to the next week. So yeah, sorry. I should have checked with you first, Matthew, anyway, so apologies for that. Chris said the unit I took on said I can put another floor, but it has to go when I leave. Be interesting to see what.
That's probably the policy, but I think when you actually leave, I imagine they'll probably say, oh, it's rentable space and we can add X amount of rent on because there's more square footage.
Yeah, so they'll probably be like, oh yeah, it's got to leave, and then try and charge you when you leave if you don't leave it, and then you'll probably find it's been rented out with it there anyway. So yeah, always worth checking. Right, guys, we shall babble on. Council. Right,
that's why. Then council will just be difficult for difficult sake. Yeah, most private landlords would be pretty flexible, and you're adding value to their property. They're not going to complain. The council will complain.
The council are a funny lot. Honestly, yesterday I was working. I was working in the office. My son come up to me yesterday, and he said, "Mummy, there's somebody here from Bournemouth Borough Council, and they want to talk to you." I thought, "Oh God, what have I done?" And so I went outside, and I couldn't find them, and I was like, "Are you sure?" And I thought, "Well, my 11-year-old son's not going to wind me up on that kind of thing."
No, that's not.
I thought there must have been something. So not a very good prank. So anyway, so I sort of hung around for a bit, and then I saw him talking to one of my neighbours, and I went out and I said, "Oh, is everything okay? My son said that you wanted to speak to me." And he said, "No, I can't speak to you. I found the person that I need to speak to, so I'm not allowed to, sorry. No, I found the person that I need to speak to." I say, "Oh, well, can I ask what it's about? Because it's my neighbor." "No, I can't tell you. It's confidential." And I was like, "Really?" And it was about a tree that is like overhanging our garages. And I was like, "But it's my garage too." And it was so pedantic, and he's obviously knows that when he walks off, I'm going to speak to my neighbor about it anyway. And I was just sort of like,
what's going on? Yeah.
Oh my God, just tell me it's a tree. Fine. Yes. Because it does cause me a lot of problem. We're surrounded by trees. But yeah, anyway, sorry, went into my rant again. Chris says, "Tell me about it. It's been nearly 4 months since I first inquired about it. Been sat empty for 3 years. They're in no rush at all." Well, we've got a competition going. Johnny is currently the record holder for the amount of time it takes to lease a unit. I can't remember exactly how long it was. Johnny, if you're still watching, let us know. I think it was 9 to 12 months, something like that. Yeah. It was a huge amount.
Was it council or private? Because my private landlord, I took about 3 days from doing it all to signing all the paperwork and keys.
I mean, ours was probably our latest one was probably 4 or 5 months, something like that, when it went through. And I remember being at an event in London with Andy Lawrence, and Kev Blackburn was telling a story about how he got his first unit, and it was hilarious. It's one of the really funny story. And he literally, I think, just went and knocked on someone's door, and they just gave him the keys. And I was like, "What?"
Maybe it's I feel it's a northern thing. Up north is just so relaxed.
I think it must be.
Can I rent your unit? Yeah, how much do you want? 10 grand a year? Okay, here's the keys. Yeah, it's just sign this form. Thanks.
It must be because, like, literally, again, commercial space in this area, in the Dorset area, is so, it's why, you know, we don't have as big a warehouse as someone probably up north, because one, it's incredibly expensive, and two, it's so rare in this area. You know, commercial space in this area is, there's a lot less of it than there is kind of up north. So you kind of beggars have to be choosers a little bit in this area, and then you have to pay through the nose for it and get treated badly, and it spends ages, you know, in going through. Whereas you've probably got more opportunity up north. I don't know. It's that north-south divide, I think.
Where I am specifically is quite limited in terms of the amount of units, and they go very quickly. But the wider area, so for example, like Warrington, Runcorn, kind of like large towns, there's an abundance of warehousing, and it's very cheap comparatively.
I can't even get into the conversation about
let's
how
not have this conversation.
I think we worked out that what I pay per, I think, is it per 1,500 or per 2,000, you pay per 10,000. It's like a ridiculous amount in different. It's so expensive where we are. Chris says same here, same size unit would be 15k per annum, yet the council is 7 per annum. That's pretty good. I don't even think there's any council ones around by us. Cost of land is too expensive. Bargains are coming. Could get cheap warehouses in 2-3 years time. Opportunities will be everywhere, in my opinion. Leveraged Amazon and eBay as much as you can. Absolutely, there's definitely always going to be more opportunity. It depends which way you look at it. Whatever happens over the next few years, there is going to be even people going out of business that have been in units that are rented cheaper than other ones. You know, it's not whether prices come down, I don't know. Who knows in the future? We really don't know what's going to happen. But what I will say is making sure you're always open to that opportunity, because you never know which and way when it's going to come.
No, absolutely. And sometimes you have to, particularly when it comes to warehouses, sometimes you just have to grab them, and you just have to take the cost of having 2 units or something for a little while, and that's how we had to do it. We had to run a couple of units concurrently just so we could get our foot in the door and get them when the opportunity was there.
Yeah, you got to be brave sometimes as well. And you got to realize that sometimes a period like that is, by making that step, you're going to enter a period of stagnation. And, that is something, well, more than likely you're going to enter a period of stagnation. But it's knowing that actually you can't get to the next place that you need to get to without going through that. So it's, it's very much something that you've got to have a good amount of foresight for. It's scary, it's intimidating, there's all of these different things and all of these big changes that you add into your business, absolutely. But you've just got to ask yourself the question, can you get to the next space without it? And you believe in yourself, because if you don't, if you're saying you're not going to do it, you're already telling yourself you're going to fail. That's the way I look at it. If someone says to me, well, actually I can't afford to do this, or, well, okay, well, you're betting against yourself then.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Matt says, my husband, we were waiting ages, but we wanted to make some internal changes and their solicitor was slow. This is the other thing as well. There's a lot of private landlords around our area. We haven't got conglomerates, or we haven't got, whatever. And sometimes they've been owned for 30 years by, Bob Smith kind of thing that uses his local solicitor that should have retired 20 years ago. So it's all of these challenges, definitely, for sure. It is terrifying, Chris. It is. But try and leverage that feeling if you can. Like I said, whenever I feel scared or wherever I always try and mix that level of excitement in with it as well. And don't let the scared feeling allow yourself to get excited about it as well, because it means good things. It means growth for the future.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, well, I'm going to go. We're going to be on it for ages.
We're going to wrap it up. We're just keep going all day.
It's been a long one. Some of those times you just feel in a bit of a, I'm always in a
we're doing 2 for 1 this week, aren't we? So it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Good
point. You can't do any more on sugary foods.
No, and we are sugar sweet.
But you can never mind the buy box content.
Exactly. So yeah, there we go. Making up for missing last week. Apologies for that, for sure. Have a good week, guys. Continue to keep posting in the group. As always, we will see you at same time next week. And yeah, have a great week, guys. Enjoy the start of the summer. Keep an eye out for opportunity. That's the theme of this week for sure.
Don't get sunburned.
No,
not possible. Not possible up here because it's raining. It's been raining all week.
For sure. Definitely no chance of that in the next couple of days. Okay, have a good week, guys.
Have a great week.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye.